One of the most important things to understand when you're trying to eat right and you understand the things that you need to eat when you're trying to cut down on carbs, when you're trying to increase protein, and you're trying to stay away from sugar, especially when you're buying things in a box with an ingredient list, is understanding what's in that product. Okay. So these companies, a lot of these companies that's selling products, especially on those middle aisles, is what I talk about in my MAP 30 course. Those middle aisles where all the processed foods live, there's things in those ingredients list that they know we don't understand. They know that we don't know what these ingredients are. And so those ingredients are regulated by the FDA because there's certain things that they have to tell us that they're putting into that product. But because we don't understand them, they're hiding things that they know would cause us not to buy that product. So they figured out ways to hide it. So understanding that ingredients list is extremely important. It is very important. Now, what a lot of these companies have done is they understand sugar-free, keto, and they use all of these catchphrases and they market to us things that are not healthy for us, but they can't call it that. They disguise it or they hide it behind these titles that will cause us to buy the product. But there's ingredients in that product that they know we don't understand. So we buy just because of what's on the package, on the front of that package. One of the longest trainings in the MAP 30 course is on ingredients. And so today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a taste of that so that you understand these ingredients list, what to look for when you flip that package over and look at the nutritional facts and the ingredients and understand what you're buying. So I'm hoping this is going to be eye-opening for you. So what I've done is I've chosen a product, and no particular reason for this specific product. Is just one of thousands. So we're just going to use this one product. I'm not picking on any one company, okay? So let's just take a look at this product. And this is Extend Nutrition. So in this product, there are 12 bars. You're getting 12 bars. And right on the front of the package, as a marketer, I always tell people completely ignore what's on the front of the package. But the front of the package is what sells. It's the billboard for this product. They know many people will see the front of the package and they will buy it just on what's marketed on the front of the package alone. I always tell people completely ignore that. You flip the package over and you look at what's in the ingredients and in the nutritional facts. That's what's going to tell you the story. The front of the package is just marketing. And so because it's just marketing, so they tell you it's 12 bars, and right here they tell you these are diabetic snacks. This is what they're marketing to diabetics. They're telling you that it is 1 net grams of carb. For health conscious people, they know that's important. 11 grams of protein. They know protein is important. And sugar-free, they know people want to stay away from sugar, especially if you're a what? A diabetic. They understand this. So they are heavily marketing this product for diabetics. So now that we understand the marketing that's on the front of the package, let's flip the package over and see what's on the back, because the back is what's going to tell the story. So let's take a look at that. So now here we are on the back of the package. Now, one of the things to understand, let me just walk you through this here, because this is where we get down to the nuts and bolts of the matter. Now, remember, we said that there was 12 bars. So, of course, there's 12 servings. Each bar is a serving. There you go, 1 bar. 12 bars, 12 servings. So 1 bar is a serving. So if we come down here to the carbs, it's got 20 grams of carbs. This lets you know the total carbs. But over here, they say it's got 1 net grams of carbs. 1 net gram. There's 20 total, but 1 net. So what they are saying is once you subtract all the things that you would subtract, you're going to come up with 1 net gram of carbs. So this total carbs right here, you'll see it's highlighted in black. This is a category. This is a category. Everything under this, you see it's indented, is a subcategory of the total carbs category. Now, what would usually a lot of you'll see on a lot of products is the total sugars would be a category as well. And the added sugar and sugar alcohols and other sugars would be added as a subcategory to the total sugars. It's not the case on this product. They have the total sugars just under the total carbs category. So what you would do with this product is you would subtract the fiber from that 20 grams, and that's going to give you 14 grams of total carbs. Why do you subtract the fiber? Because the fiber is not going to be absorbed into your body. Fiber typically goes through your digestive system, into your large intestine, and out into the waste. It's mostly going to be for your gut microbiome to consume. You're feeding your gut microbiome when you eat dietary fiber. Fiber is helping your gut microbiome. So then you got total sugars, and you see right here, they have zero total sugars. That's what they're saying, is there's no sugar in this product, because remember on the front of the box, it said no sugar, sugar-free, completely free of sugar, is what they said. So added sugar, there's no added sugar, none. Meaning there's nothing in the product that has cane sugar or beet sugar or other sugar added to it. If there's sugar in the product, it means that it's in the product itself. In other words, if it's an apple, apple has sugar in it. So if it's sugar, if it's apple in the product, it'll have sugar, but that's not an added sugar. Sugar is in the apple, so that won't be counted as an added sugar. Now, if I put table sugar or regular sugar, imperial sugar, for instance, in it, well, that's an added sugar. So they're saying there is no added sugar. Sugar alcohols, there is 5 grams of added sugar, of sugar alcohol. That would be things like allulose, erythritol, monk fruit, any of those sugars or sugar alcohols. They don't count. You don't count them because they're not going to raise your blood glucose level. So you're not going to count sugar alcohols. And then right here, they have something that you'll hardly ever see is other carbs. I have no idea what this other carbs is, but I'm going to show you why that's important here in a second. So if you subtract the 6 from the 20, you're going to get 14. Now, normally what you would do is you would subtract the protein as well. You would normally subtract that as well. But in this case, they didn't. Now, I find it interesting. So when you look over here, what they do, you take the total carbs, you subtract your protein, and you add if there's any added sugar. You're going to add that because that's going to affect your blood glucose level. Okay, so protein and fiber doesn't affect your blood glucose levels the way carbs do. So you're going to subtract that. Now watch what they do over here. They give you an explanation, and it's somewhat of an explanation, but that's why understanding these things are important. So they take your 20 grams of carbs, so they subtract the 6 grams of dietary fiber. They subtract that. That is true. Sugar alcohols, 5 grams. They subtract that. That is not true. You do not subtract that. It doesn't affect your carbohydrates one way or the other. So you don't subtract that. Fiber blunts the effect of your carbohydrates. It's why you subtract that. Because when you're eating something in fiber with fiber in it, it digests or it is absorbed into your system slower because it is consumed with fiber. So it's the carbohydrates in the product is not going to have that much of an effect as it would without the dietary fiber. If you consume 20 grams of carbs with no fiber, it's going straight into your bloodstream, or it will absorb into your bloodstream faster. The dietary fiber blunts that effect. Sugar alcohols don't, but nonetheless, they're subtracting it. And then this other carb have no idea what that is, but they're counting it. They're subtracting it from the 20 total carb. A carb is a carb. So how they're coming up with a carb that is subtracted from the carb is beyond me. I have no idea why they're doing that. But if you look up here, and this is kind of, for me, this is kind of a tell. They have an explanation up here, how to count the carbs. And so this is what they say: fiber, sugar, alcohols, and non-factor other carbs. What do you mean non-factor other carbs? Carbs is going to be a factor. They're calling these other carbs a non-factor. I don't know why that is. But they say 5 grams uncooked cornstarch and glycerin convert slowly. I staunchly disagree, but that's their opinion. Thus have minimal impact on blood sugar, because this is the goal. Because remember, this is being sold to diabetics. This is being sold to diabetics. They are marketing on the front of this package to people with diabetes, meaning they have more than likely become insulin resistant by consuming things that elevate your blood glucose over a certain period of time for so long that they have become insulin resistant. Their A1C has risen to 6.5 or above for a 3-month period. This is who they are marketing this to diabetics. Because, and the reason why is because it has no sugar in it, according to them. So then we get to the ingredients. The ingredients. This is what tells the story up here. The story up here is told by the ingredients in this product. Now, the way this works is the first ingredients on the list is the most by weight. That's a government regulation. The most by weight is the first ingredient on the package. If you remember the big Tic Tac, I call it a scandal, where Tic Tac was selling sugar-free Tic Tac, and the first ingredient was maltodextrin, which is going to raise your blood sugar level higher than table sugar. Table sugar is 65. Maltodextrin can be anywhere from 110 to 150 on the glycemic index, and it was the first ingredient in the product, which is why people were saying that a Tic Tac could be, a sugar-free Tic Tac could be 95% sugar, and yet they call it sugar-free. It's because of the government regulation, because it was 0.5 or less grams per serving. So Tic Tac just called one Tic Tac a serving, even though the majority of it was sugar. But nonetheless, so if you look at these ingredients, the first ingredient is going to be the most by weight. And so their first ingredient, what they have done is they've put these in brackets here all the way to here. So everything in here is in brackets. So it's soy protein crisps, which is soy protein isolates, tapioca starch, which is going to be 85 to 90, more than table sugar, more than regular sugar. Tapioca starch is going to be more than sugar on the glycemic index. Tapioca starch, we're talking about 75 to 80 on the glycemic index. Regular sugar is 65. So it's more than that on the glycemic index, and it is within the category of the first ingredient, which is the most by weight in this product, being marketed to diabetics. And then you have whey protein isolates. Technically, this would be the second ingredient in this product. They're counting all of this into one category. This maltitol syrup would be the second ingredient in this product. Maltitol syrup is going to be about 50 on the glycemic index. Table sugar or regular sugar, imperial sugar, beet sugar, or any of the sugars. There's a ton of them. But maltitol syrup is going to be about 50 to 52 to 55 on the glycemic index. So it's going to be close to regular sugar on the glycemic index, and is the second product in this product by weight. the product that they are calling sugar-free. Then they have cornstarch. Then they have soluble corn fiber. And then they have chicory root fiber, which is going to be your fibers, and you get into your fibers, which is good, which is probably where most of the 6 grams of dietary fiber come from, is these fibers, which is less in this product by weight than the maltitol syrup, the tapioca starch, and all of these other ingredients. So for this product that they're saying is 1 gram of net carbs, I absolutely disagree with that. I have no idea how you can come up with 1 gram of net carbs out of this. What this other carbs is, this 8 grams of other carb, they don't explain. The maltitol syrup, they are calling this not a added sugar. Now, technically, maltitol syrup is a sugar alcohol, okay? But here's the thing. This is why things get confusing. This is why understanding this stuff is important. Is because it's technically, if you Google it, it's a sugar alcohol, okay? However, it can be anywhere from 30 to 55 on the GI, meaning it is going to you're going to get a rise in your blood glucose level out of it. So regardless of how you define it, in my opinion, it is a sugar. Though technically it's a sugar alcohol, but if you look at monk fruit, erythritol, and other sugar alcohols on the GI, it's 0. So maltitol syrup is 35 to 50 to 55, but it's called a sugar alcohol, meaning you're going to get a rise in your blood glucose level. And if you're going to get that much of a rise in your blood glucose level, in my opinion, that is a sugar, regardless of what you define it as. Now, they have the tapioca starch, which is a starch. It is not technically a sugar by the government's definition of sugar, but it's going to raise your your blood glucose higher than table sugar. So it's higher on the glycemic index, but it does not have to be called a sugar according to the FDA regulations. The same with the cornstarch. So between the cornstarch, the maltitol syrup, and the tapioca starch, it is no way you can tell me that you're not going to get a spike in your blood glucose by consuming a bar of this product. And yet it is being marketed to diabetics as a sugar-free product. So this is what we're up against. So when you're looking at these products, know this, if you take nothing away from this, and this is all legal, that they're following the FDA guidelines, twisting them, in my opinion, especially for this product, but they're following the FDA guidelines because there's so many loopholes that they can use that they don't have to call things that are sugar. They don't have to call it that, which is why they can call this sugar-free. Despite the fact that maltitol syrup, I don't know how you can define it as anything else but sugar. The tapioca starch and the cornstarch, they don't have to call that sugar, even though it spikes your blood glucose higher than sugar. They don't have to call it sugar. So when you're looking at these nutritional facts on these products, first thing you do is you look at the carbs, you look at how much sugar is in the product, you look at how much fiber is in the product, and you look and see if there's any added sugar in the product. Then you look at how much protein is in it. This over here, I'm going to call foul on that. I would completely ignore that. That just doesn't jive with me. But then you look at the products of the ingredients. You come down here and you look at the ingredients, and you want to know at least the first 6 ingredients in this product, because it's going to be categorized by weight. And you want to know the first 4 or 5 or 6. Once you get past 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 ingredients, which I would suggest not to be consumed anyway if it's got that many ingredients in it, you get up to 14, 15, 20 ingredients. That is a ultra-processed food. But you see what's the first 4, 5, or 6 ingredients, and it's going to be more of that by weight than anything else in the product. And you see if the ingredients jive with what they're saying is the carbohydrates and the sugars and the protein and the fiber. This way you know whether to put it back on the shelf or put it in your grocery basket or put it in your cart. Because the fact is, this is where the battlefield is at. Front of the box, ignore it. Whatever's on the front of the package, completely ignore that. Go right to the nutritional facts and the ingredient list. And that's going to tell you what's in the product. This is how you avoid buying things and you're trying to lose weight and you're not, the scale is not moving and you don't understand why, because you're eating a product that says it's keto or it's sugar-free, and it's not. It is not neither of those. That's why the scale is not moving, because of these hidden ingredients that they know we are not educated on or we don't understand. So I hope that helped. I really do. Subscribe to my channel, like the video. If you got any value out of this, like the video. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video. Bye for now.